I like to think of Claude like a video game character. On day one, when you install it, you're at level 1. You're at base level, you haven't unlocked any of the cool weapons, you haven't got any of the strength buffs, you don't have any of the power-ups yet, and that's what Claude is right out of the box. However, by installing plugins, skills, and MCP tools, you can level up your Claude character. And in this video, I'm going to show you 7 of my favorite skills and plugins that is going to take your Claude from level 0 to max level. So let's go ahead and jump into it. If you don't know what a skill or plugin is yet, I'll take you through it in 60 seconds. If you do know, feel free to skip on to skill number 1. However, skills are basically pre-built workflows installed as / commands inside Claude code. You basically install them once and then you can rerun that workflow over and over again anytime that you need it. And you can create these skills by yourself. And I highly recommend doing that and learning how to do that for your specific workflows, because a lot of the work that you do is going to be very custom to you. However, there is hundreds of skills out there that are applicable to all of us. You know, we all do a lot of the same tasks on a day-to-day basis, and some people have built really amazing skills that work for everyone. And that's what I'm going to show you in this video. All skills are stored as markdown files, which is basically just a text file that runs through each of the instructions and steps in that workflow. These skills can then connect to plugins and MCPs as well. MCPs stands for Model Context Protocol Servers, and that basically gives Claude real-world tools. So it can connect to your browser, a database, an API, and Claude can now do things, not just give you, text responses back as answers. It's able to click, navigate, query, and run, and there is tons of different MCPs that connect to a lot of the different tools that you use in your workflows. Now, let's jump into the 7 skills that I think are great for business owners. Number 1 is Marketing Skills by Corey Haynes. This is basically a set of about 25 different marketing skills, going through everything from writing landing page copy to drafting full email sequences to creating positioning frameworks, generating social media content, and much, much more. I'll take you into it in a second. But instead of having to create these skills yourself inside your business, you can just install this directly from GitHub. It will import all of those skills into your project, ready for you to use anytime that you need them. So let's go ahead over here to the Corey Haynes Marketing Skills GitHub repo. If you don't know what a GitHub repo is, it's basically where you can store coding projects and files like this. So for skills, a lot of them are going to be hosted on GitHub, and you can basically just ask Claude Code to install these for you. So I'm going to leave the links in the description to all of the skills I talk about in this video, but you just come up here, grab the link, and then come into Claude Code. I'm using Claude Code inside Anti-Gravity. So if I want to go ahead and get these skills inside my project, I would just come down to Claude Code inside my terminal and say, hey, install these skills from this GitHub repo. Now, I'm not going to do it because I've already installed them. If we come up here on the left, you can see in my skills folder, it has installed all of the marketing skills in here. We've got everything from A/B testing to ad creative, analytics tracking, cold email, community marketing, CRO optimization, email sequences, paid ads, and much, much more. So I'll just show you one that I did earlier. So in here, I wanted to create a cold email sequence. Now, I could definitely go out there and create a cold email sequence skill for myself, but he's already got the framework for it in here. And I basically got back, I used the skill, I got back this cold email sequence that was basically reaching out to FBS sellers on Amazon to see if they wanted to sell their business. So it created a 4 email sequence, and we've got it right here. So now I can just go into my cold email outreach system, copy these emails, and utilize them in that flow. And if we actually look up here inside these folders, you can go to the skill.md file. And this is basically the set of instructions that this runs through. So it's going to do a few different things. Initially, it's going to ask you questions. So you've got here, before writing, check for product marketing context first. So it's definitely going to depend on the context of your business. So Claude needs to get some information from you so it can tailor its responses to your actual business or workflow. So it's asking stuff like, who are you writing to? What do you want? What's the value? What's your proof? Any research signals? So I give it all of those answers, and then that's when it comes back over here with this cold email sequence. Now, I would highly recommend installing this skill or basket of skills essentially, so that you can go ahead and test them out. If you do any sort of marketing, there's going to be tools in here that are useful for you, and you can feel free to delete the ones that you don't use, and you don't have to keep these skills as they are. There's probably changes I would want to make to my cold email skill right here to tailor it more towards my use case and my business. So you can come in here and just talk back and forth with Claude and give it more context on your business, or you maybe already have like a business operating system for your business where you have all of your projects and all of your skills, and it can take that context from your existing workspace folder and apply it then to the skills here from Corey Haines Marketing Skills Workspace. Number 2 is Awesome Design MD. And if you're doing any front-end design work on your projects, this is the best skill out there right now to do it. They've basically taken some of the biggest brands in the world, such as Spotify, Vercel, Apple, Lamborghini, and they've created a design.md file for each of those brands. And you can download those into your project and say, hey, make my website look like Spotify's, or make my website look like Airbnb's, and it copies their design system and applies it to yours. You can then change the colors or fonts, but you maybe want to keep the actual website structure, or you want to keep the colors and fonts, but you want to change the structure, and you can customize it from there. And it's much easier than going ahead and trying to design from scratch inside Claude. To use this, you'll want to come over to GitHub, go to voltagent/awesome-design-md. I'll leave the link in the description. And basically in here, they have hundreds of different websites from a lot of different industries. So for example, if you wanted to get a website that looks like Cursors, you can come here to getdesign.md. So in here, they've got this design system, which is inspired by the Cursor website, or they've got design systems from Nike, from Airbnb, and then you can utilize these in your project. So just like we did with the previous skill, you can just go to the GitHub, copy the GitHub link, come into your project, and again, just ask Claude to install this repo on your computer, and you don't have to install all of the design systems. You can see here, I've only asked it to install a few. So I've got Airbnb, Cursor, Notion, Spotify, and Vercel. And I basically asked it to create 2 websites so I could show you them as an example. So if we come back over here and we go to Steamstead, I said, hey, create me a website for hotels that have hot tubs with the Airbnb design system. And if you know what the Airbnb website looks like, it looks very similar to this. So this is the actual Airbnb website right here. And then this is my website that I created with this in a couple of minutes. Now, obviously you don't want to copy these websites like, word for word or the exact same colors and fonts, but to give you the structure, if you wanted to create any sort of like booking website or a flight website, you might want to use the same structure as Airbnb and then change some of the colors around, change some of the fonts around to make it your own. But this is a great place to start. This is another one that I created basically using Vercel's website structure and design. I basically said, create me an AI security plugin website, and it created this. It's called Sentinel. And down here, you can see you've got these nice little code blocks. They've got some animations in here. The website, it is completely in the design of Vercel. So this is a really good plugin for doing any front-end design work. Number 3 is the Karpathy LLM Wiki. And this basically builds a personal knowledge base. So if you have a lot of information or data that you use potentially in your business, or if you've got notes that you use for studying, it will take your raw notes, whether that's from PDFs, whether that's from just markdown files, notes files. It can take them and then pull all of that information in. So you might have hundreds of files there. It will ingest all of that information and put it into a structured wiki. So it basically summarizes the key information from all of those files and pulls context from each of them, puts them into a wiki that is easily accessible by Claude and LLMs. So it makes it much easier for Claude to read those files, read the information that you actually need, and then get much better outputs on the other side. It's going to save you tokens, and it's also amazing for yourself. Like you actually going and want to find information that you've been working on. If you have hundreds of files, it's very hard to find the specific information that you need. But by putting it into a wiki and linking all of those together, it gives you a really structured database that updates over time and learns as you do. To install this, you want to come to the LLM wiki from Karpathy. Basically just take this GitHub link, give it the Claude code, and ask it to create this file structure inside your project. And if we come over to my project over here, this is my full business operating system. And I'll leave a link to a video up here where you can see exactly how I use this. But if we come down here to the research section, I have all of these research folders. So I've got sources, TikTok hooks, transcripts, trends, weekly research, and then I've got this wiki. So all of these folders here are my inputs. And basically it then takes all of those inputs and it puts it into a wiki. So over here in my wiki, I've got all of these other folders that store important information, such as the frameworks that I use for my YouTube videos. So if I want to see like what structure do I use for a specific video, if I go in here to the concepts folder and go to this Callaway frameworks, basically what I did is, if you don't know who Callaway is, he's a YouTuber who basically creates content around creating better YouTube videos. I took the transcripts from his videos, I put it in here into my source folders, then the wiki ingested that information and put it into a summarized version here that Claude can now access anytime I'm creating a video. So it will come into the wiki, it will look at this Callaway framework and ensure that the scripts that we're writing for our videos or the video structures that we're creating follow this system. So by doing that, you have a much more structured file system, and it really helps Claude learn over time and keep context about your business and your folders. I also highly recommend utilizing this with Obsidian. Obsidian is basically a note-taking app that has everything in Markdown files. So it's amazing for working with LLMs and Claude because everything that it produces is basically a Markdown file. However, inside something like anti-gravity, it can be quite hard to read in here. However, if we bring this into Obsidian and we go to that same concepts file and we go to the Callaway frameworks, we actually have this framework here in a much easier format to read. We've actually got bolded headings, summary files, etc. And in here, it links to other parts of the system. So you can see here, because we've ingested all of those scripts, it's created multiple different wiki files. And the hook anatomy here, it's coming from craft and hooks. So I can actually click on this right here. It's going to take me to that hooks file, and it's going to give me a much more detailed structure on the hooks. And the LLM can also follow these links. So it's going to be able to go to the Callaway framework, see what that framework is. And then if it needs more context on hooks, it can click through to that actual hooks file right here, and everything is linked together. So if you're like studying, this would be absolutely amazing. I mean, I don't go to university or study anymore in like a structured format, but I can imagine how powerful this is now for like kids who are learning concepts in any sort of field. This is amazing for learning and putting stuff together and being really easy to reference different files, different concepts in a structured format. It also, inside Obsidian, has this like really cool knowledge graph here that basically links together all of your files. So you can see the connections between all of your different files that you're pulling in here. So that is Karpathy's LLM Wiki. Super useful. And again, to install that, just give it the link, tell Claude Code to install it, and you're good to go. Just before we get into number 4, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the video so far. On the channel here, we do a ton of different videos on how to automate your workflows for your business or professional life using Claude Code and other AI tools. Number 4 is Remotion. And this basically allows you to create video assets, whether it's for YouTube videos, you're doing a product demo. It creates absolutely amazing animated content. Like this would cost hundreds of dollars previously. Now me, as someone who has no real video editing experience, can create high quality animations for my YouTube videos by using this plugin. So Remotion basically turns React code into a rendered video. And when you pair that with Claude Code, you can generate entire video productions, intros, explainers, data visualizations, just by describing what you want in plain text. Claude then writes the code, and Remotion takes that code and renders it as an actual video, a .mp4 or .mov file. All you have to do to install this is do npx create video, paste that into Claude and say, install Remotion for me. Again, over here, you can grab this and grab the npx create video at latest, install that inside Claude Code. And once Remotion is installed, you can simply just say to Claude, hey, create me an animation for XYZ. So let me show you some of the outputs here that this has actually created for me. So if we come in here to my business operating system, I can go to Remotion, go to the out folder, and you can see all of the different animations that I have created. So if we actually look at this inside the file explorer, we'll be able to open up some of these projects here and see exactly what they'll look like. So if I open this video and play it, this is basically an animation that was created showing, a terminal, build a brand new dashboard. And then from that, it opens up the Claude desktop app. So it can you can give it a screenshot of your actual application. If you wanted to create a demo video for your app, just give it a screenshot of your app, and then it will actually rebuild that in this like animated SVG format, and it will do the animations for you. So this here took about 5 minutes to make, and to be honest, like there's just no way I could create something like this by myself. And even professional video editors, it's going to take them hours to create something like this for a simple 12-second sequence. Now you can do that using Remotion in a couple of minutes. Number 5 is the Playwright MCP, and this basically gives Claude access to your browser. So it can now visit URLs, it can click buttons, fill forms, take screenshots, and automate the web on your behalf. This is basically an MCP server that wires to Microsoft's Playwright browser automation tool directly into Claude code. Claude then gains real browser tools like navigating, clicking, typing, screenshot, and scrolling. So there's a lot of different use cases for this. You can automate the testing of your web app. So if you build something, you can then ask Claude, use the Playwright MCP to actually test the sign up flow on my website. And it can go and it can manually click through everything and ensure that the full functionality is actually working. One thing that I actually did with Playwright is build a Gulf tea time booking system. So every Saturday at 8 p.m. our Gulf tea times come out and like everyone rushes to book their tea time. I wanted to automate that, so I used the Playwright MCP to actually have Claude build me an application that automatically books my tea time bang on 8 p.m. every week for the selected slots. And it then goes and it uses Playwright to go into our booking system, fill in my information, add the different players that I want to play with each week, and then it selects from a range of times from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and it picks the one that is available as soon as it gets in there. So Playwright can actually access my browser and go through that workflow, and now I can book tea times automatically. There's a lot of different use cases. You can also do this for like scraping data. So you might be an agency that does marketing for plumbers. You're trying to get new clients and you want to do cold outreach to them. Well, first you need to get their emails. So you can use Playwright to have Claude access the web, access your browser, go find all of the plumbers within a 50-mile radius of your town, and then it will pull back all of that information, their emails, their contact information that you can then use to do cold outreach to those clients. Number 6 is Live Artifacts, which is a new tool that came out last week. And this one is honestly huge. I did a video on it here if you want to see a full 10-minute video breaking it down. But this basically renders interactive apps, calculators, dashboards, and tools in your live conversation with Claude. Now this is only in the desktop app, and it basically means that you don't have to spin up a local server for every dashboard type project that you want to create. It's built into Cowork, so if we come over here and go to the Claude app, if you come over to Live Artifacts on the left-hand side, you'll be able to create a new live artifact. So let me just show you one example here of what I built this for. So if we go to this weekly YouTube review right here, every time I open this up now, it refreshes my data and it shows me all of my stats. So you can see here, it's giving me the rolling 7 days data from the 17th to the 23rd. I can see all of my views and it's pulling this from the YouTube API. Now, previously, I would have had to create a dashboard for this, open it up on a local host, or actually serve that website live online to use it. But now to create these like quick little dashboards that I'm personally using, or even to create like calendar automation. So another one that I created, it basically accessed my calendar. It pulled in the meetings that I have for today. So it got the email address of each of those clients. And then it looked in our CRM system and gave me a full briefing on who that client is and what our past communication is for them. And I can just come in here daily and actually view that. So you can look here at this daily call prep and you can see I can click through my calendar here and I've got these different people that I've got meetings with coming up, and it gives me a very detailed briefing on each of these people. I can join the meeting directly from here, and you can create this directly inside Cowork. So you don't have to leave. You don't even have to use anti-gravity or anything like that. It's very simple, but also very powerful. Number 7 is deep research. One command triggers Claude to autonomously search, read, cross-reference, and synthesize a comprehensive research report on any topic. It's going to run multi-step web research autonomously. It's like having a junior analyst who never stops until the job is actually done. So it's going to search multiple sources. It's going to evaluate credibility. It's going to cross-reference findings and ensure that it's actually legitimate information. And it's going to produce a structured report with citations to each of the sources. So again, you can simply install this skill from the GitHub repo. It's over here. I will leave a link to it down below in the description. Once that's installed, you can then just type /research and put your topic into Claude Code. And you can use this for a number of different use cases. Competitor landscape analysis in under 10 minutes, market research brief before launching a product, fact-checking content before you publish, research foundation for blog posts and YouTube videos, due diligence on tools, service, or vendors. So let me show you an example here that I actually used it for. So I went into Claude, I installed the deep research skill, and I did /deep research and give it context on my marathon times. So I said, hey, I want a full research report on the best strategies and training plans for running a sub-3 marathon. I previously ran a 3:02. I was this close, and I'm still working to try and beat that time. So I wanted to find out what is the best training structure plan to do that right now. So I give it that context. It went out and researched the internet, and it came back with this 12-page report on sub-3-hour marathons, evidence-based training structures for breaking the barrier. And you can see how detailed this is, but it basically, what it would actually be really cool, and I might actually do, is give it all of my Strava data, so it completely understands like where I'm at, my training data, how I should be approaching this, and then get it to do the research. But for now, this is just based on, I did a 3:02, how do I get to a sub-3? And I come back with a full executive summary here. So mileage progression, lactate threshold development, intensity. It's giving me the different points that I really need to focus on. And then it's going to go through, again, it's citing all of the sources here, and it's going to give me all of the detail on each of these different sections. So, is training volume important or is it not? Is, the physiological gap, so what sub-3 actually demands, and give me a really, really useful report here that I can read through and better understand without having to go out and like manually do this research, bounce between, 20 different websites, watch 10 different YouTube videos. Well, I'm just now getting the best research from Claude using this deep research skill. So if you do any sort of heavy research work in your business, in your day job, I would highly recommend using this deep research skill. So those are my top 7 Claude skills that I recommend using right now inside Claude Code. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. It helps out the channel a ton. Make sure and subscribe for more content on Claude Code and AI for automating your workflows. And I'd highly recommend checking out this video right here where I talk about my full business operating system and how to actually run Claude to operate your business.